thought I'll just leave my quick sort of view on the White versus Parker fight. Firstly, it was a fantastic spectacle. Um, I left the video before with a prediction. Um, I said it was going to be really, really tight, and if I was a betting man, I wouldn't put any money down. But it backed into a corner. I went with Parker. I thought his championship experience was going to come through. Um, I anticipated him seeing it out on points and sort of halfway through the fight, sort of taking over. And I just didn't really trust in White's stamina and longevity. Sorry, I just thought that he'll come in heavy, which he did, heavier than I thought he would, and just really go for it and try and make it scrappy and really make it nasty to get Parker out soon. And I thought Parker would try and try and ride that wave and then sort of go up a couple of gears towards the back end of the fight. So I was sort of halfway there. I mean, White started with a well, Parker actually first round started relatively well, but White took over from the second round and just pretty much made it into the type of fight that he wanted to be. He was roughing Parker up. He was leading well with his jab, working that, and he wasn't in any trouble at any moment, pretty much, until obviously he got knocked down in the last round. Um, Parker, there's two things with Parker. Well, actually, there's three things. Firstly, he relied too much on the mystique around the fact that he had never been knocked down before. That for him was very important to him. And that's great. That's fine. I get that. But I think he spent too much time worrying about having to defend those words that he wouldn't engage. Clearly White is a heavy hitter. And I think very early on he felt the force and he decided he didn't want any part of that. And I think that held him back as well. Also, what you know held him back in the Joshua fight is he was very content with effectively being the first guy to say that Joshua hadn't knocked out. If that's some sort of victory, you know, it's fine if you're mandatory with nothing to lose. Great, you saw it out. The champion ultimately turned out to be too good for you and you didn't get knocked out. That's fine, but you're also a champion. You've got a piece of the puzzle in terms of one of the belts. Surely you want to defend that. How can I say with your life? And you don't want to die for it, but do you know what I mean? You really want to go for it, and yeah, you may get laid out, but it's heavyweight boxing, and a lot is on the line. I think the general public would have probably, rated you or your performance higher had you had really gone for it, put Josh on the back foot, put him in a situation where he had to knock you out, and ultimately did. I think you can walk away from that fight with your head held higher rather than just saying, well, he didn't really trouble me for 12 rounds. But most disturbing of all the things was his sort of mannerism. Parker, I wasn't going to say he's not built for this because he is. I'm not going to just, throw away all the good work he's done in the early stages fights, but since he's won the belt and even winning it, people are still debating whether or not he had beaten Ruiz Jr. or not. Since then, he hasn't performed. Pretty much, he hasn't knocked anyone out, and all of the decisions have been pretty close. And this was the fight where he didn't need to take this fight. He really should have gone back to New Zealand, licked his wounds, took a couple of tune-up fights to keep busy, and then reassess what he was going to do and come back into it. But he jumped straight back into to facing a credible fighter in White, and credit to him. But White isn't the type of guy you want to come up against if you don't have that aggressive mannerism. And White, effectively mauled him. Um, Parker's got quick hands. He's got great movement. I didn't see much in terms of power. Yes, he knocked White down in the very last round, but that's a combination of White being fatigued and also wanting to get involved when he should not got involved. He should have just seen out the last 30 seconds. I don't know why he entertained that, but that's a learn that hopefully White will take away with him and realize that he shouldn't have engaged. He should have just seen it out. But on the flip side, with White, when he was stunned and out on his feet, he did respond really well by just holding literally for the last 20 seconds or so. Whereas in the past, he would have gone for it every time he'd been hurt. He instinctively wants to hurt them back, and that's the warrior in him that wants to do that. But the boxing smart will say, if you just come forward every time they hurt you, they're going to hurt you again because they know exactly how you respond to being hurt. So they can have two bites of the cherry, and you don't want to be that predictable. And the best situation to be in, if you are generally hurt, the best situation for you to do is know where they are, and to know where they are for sure is by holding on to them. And you can control that, catch your breath, clear your head a little bit, and try and see it through that round. And he did that. To be to give him credit, he did do that. So he's definitely come a long way since the Joshua fight, because in that Joshua fight, every time he got stung, he instinctively wanted to snap back and not be bullied, but he wasn't really that smart because ultimately that was the undoing of him. But credit to White, he did well. He did good. He didn't take the easy option. There'll be some idiots out there claiming that he ducked Ortiz and he didn't want to fight Pulev, but I think financially, this fight was probably going to be the biggest fight outside of Joshua Wilder that he was going to get, and Fury, sorry, that he was going to get. And I think now White's kind of tired of being the bridesmaid all the time. I think now he kind of wants the limelight. So he was top of the bill. It was his first pay-per-view. It's probably the first big money that he's got. And I think he's probably thinking, okay, I kind of maybe given up the bullshit mandatory positions in several of the sanctioned bodies. But you know what? I'm 30 years old now. I'm getting punched in the head for my work. I want to get paid. And, he took that. And it won't do him any harm in terms of his reputation within the sanctioning bodies. Surely. Surely. Yeah, they might be a bit miffed with him that he didn't follow their directions in terms of how they wanted it to pan out with the whole Brazil bullshit. But even they can look at it and say, okay, he's beating a legitimate challenger, former champion. That's got to bump him up there. And it's going to be good for whichever sanctioning body, hopefully the WBC, for them to push White and to get him that fight that he wants. Now, it's not. It wasn't all great. White was there was times where he was very sloppy, very sloppy. He was loading up and swinging at times, and he never got punished for it. But against a more aggressive or game fighter, that will come back to bite him. I'm thinking, how would it look if he did fight Wilder? Wilder, for the, you know, I don't think he's got great boxing fundamentals, but if there's one thing he's good at, which he has shown over his 40 fights, is that he's very patient, very patient. And again, he showed against Ortiz that he can take a punch. So if White was to go into the next fight with Wilder, he will have to cut out those, wild looping punches because Wilder is quick, and if he sees that enough, and we all know he's definitely got the one punch knockout in him, you're just asking for you're just asking to be knocked out. So that's something that he needs to tidy up a little bit. As for Parker, I don't think on the physical aspects, there's really much that he can improve on. You know, it's the mental side for me that I'm a bit concerned with. Firstly, he lost, and if I had just walked into the room and looked to the two fighters, and I just seen the result, the fight had ended, I just seen the results, and I just walked into the room, and the microphone's in front of Parker's face, I would have thought he'd won. He was very smiley, very nice. I mean, there was even a medal around his neck. I don't know what that was about, but he didn't. He just looked like he was happy to be taking part, and that is not the mindset of a great champion, in my humble opinion. You know, of course, he can't be effing and blinding on live TV, but he should at least show a level of annoyance and frustration, and he shouldn't just be willing to just take that. He just lacks that. Had it been the other way around, and had White had lost in the same manner, you would know just by looking at him that he was not happy. Um, but I don't know what happens for Parker from here. It's a hard one. He's on two losses on the bounce. Yeah, they're high quality fighters. Where does he go? It's going to be, in terms of challenging for a title, unless Wilder wants to do him a favor. He's at least another year and a half away now to lick his wounds, rebuild, and start again. And it's very difficult because two guys are controlling that division. So he has to decide what path he wants to take. Does he want to take the WBC path, or does he want to take, the other sanctioned bodies? And he needs to build himself up. I don't really know who he targets after, where he goes from there. As for White, I really want to see him face Wilder. For me, that will be the fight. Because Wilder, what, April is when Joshua's fighting next. So after Joshua Povetkin, that's what, at least 6 months. And Wilder, when did Wilder fight? He fought at the beginning of the year, I think February, March sort of times, February, March. So he can't go a whole year if he does fight Joshua in April without a fight. Um, so it'd be nice if he took that at the back end of this year, uh, you know, uh, November, December times. It'd be nice if he did that, because and if he dispatched off White and then got the Joshua fight, he's now starting to look good on the resume side of things. We could then start saying, yes, you had Ortiz, followed by White, followed by Joshua. You win that, and then you face whoever else is up and coming. Um, and then the whole talk around his resume is gone. People are not going to be so concerned about his first 30 odd fights. They'll be like, that's irrelevant now. He's now the unified champion. He beat White, he beat Ortiz, he beat Joshua. He's now got all the belts. He's now going to be dealing with all his mandatories. The talk of his resume will just disappear, literally, overnight. So it'd be nice if he did face White. Um, I don't want to see a White and Joshua before I see a Joshua and Wilder. I would like to see White Joshua if Joshua beats Wilder, is unified, and then we can do an all UK affair, whether that's with White or Fury. It's, whoever is available and fit at the time and ready to go. I suspect by then Fury probably would have had 3 or 4 belts on, 3 or 4 fights under his belt at that point, so he may be ready to go by then. But it was a fantastic night. Obviously, shout out to Chisora as well. I did not think he had it in him. You know, he was getting battered. Um, Takam looked good. Takam had high energy. He was boxing well. And Chisora was patient. And he waited for that one moment and he went for it. And he dispatched him nicely. And it's good to see the KO from him because it's been a while since I've seen him do that to anyone. But the whole card as a whole was a good night. It was a few surprises in there. It was finished off with a couple of high quality fights as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing the paths that both of these guys take. Um, White now, you know, he deserves a shot at the title now. I can't think of anyone sub championship level who deserves it more. So it's only a matter of time before he gets his shot. And Parker, don't know where he goes from here. Um, he can very easily slip into anonymity if he's not careful. You know, if he takes another tricky fight and loses that, and that's three and a bounce, you know, at 26 years old, it's weird to say that you could start thinking about calling it a day. Um, but maybe Ortiz might be a good shout for him. That's very. I mean, somewhere along the line, he needs one or two fights in between that. But maybe Ortiz is the way to go to win back some of that credibility. But the problem with Ortiz is that he's not getting any younger, so he needs to get on his bike if that's what he's going to do. But again, it'd be very interesting to see sort of what path or which path they take, and whether or not that path leads to a shot at the title for White. But we'll see.